And I'll be honest, and it may sound to some like I'm justifying, but some people listening are going to relate to this. I still want to be the best version that I can be. I want to be a bodybuilder, whether I'm competing or not. I want to walk around looking like a bodybuilder. We can have Dr. Kiko on, and he could break down my insecurities and why I am the way I am. But there's a lot of people like me. So I counter only the part about I'm going to give myself this amount of time. I'm willing to take those risks this amount of time. That's cool from a bodybuilding like career standpoint. But if you're not that good and you're not it's easy for Cutler to say, I'm only going to do it until this time. Phil, same thing. Lunsford or Nick Walker, but not a Skip Hill. A mediocre everyday bodybuilder who just wants to be the best that they can. And I think obviously the vast majority of people who are listening are like that, but also the vast majority of people listening are willing to take a little bit of extra risk. That's why so many clients are TRT plus. And I don't know. I mean, the risk is there. There's always a risk with everything we do. But if your markers are coming back good, and that's not the entire equation, but it's a good portion of it, and you're younger, you make a good point, because I touched on that too. At 56 and staying on, year round or whatever, versus when I was in my 30s, people still scoff at that when I was in my 30s, but I was on for 3.5 years. I didn't have blood markers that were out of range. They were all high normal. I rode it until I couldn't ride it anymore, and ranges started to go out of range.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Blood, Sweat, and Gear with coaches Skip Hill, Andrew Berry, myself, Scott McNally, and all of our programming is brought to you by you, the people of Patreon. Thank you for your support. We do have some Patreon questions today, and we have a physique critique that we'll either get on this show or the next one. We're brought to you by TrueNutrition.com. Use our code THINK over there to get some additional savings on great basic bodybuilding supplements, protein powder, high-quality stuff, creatine, intro workout, all of that. And we're brought to you by SupplementSource.ca for our Canadians. They have great deals that change week to week. Guys, good to be back together. Before we got started, Andrew, I know you'd been all over the place, man. You'd been out at USA's, I believe it was, and then you were just at the Tampa Pro right in your backyard. So it'd be cool to catch up, man, from your coaching perspective. You had athletes at these shows. How did everything go?
I think everything went pretty good. I mean, I tell you what, Junior USA's feels like it was so long ago already, even though it was only like two weekends ago. It's crazy.
Or USA's?
I'm sorry, USA's, yeah.
Yeah.
I was at Junior USA's like 2 months ago, and that's another story. But yeah, no, Tampa was good. I had two pros making their debuts, which was really nice. Tanya Dominique, women's physique. She's a listener to, I think, the programming. She's jacked.
She looked good, dude. I saw her pictures on Instagram. Looked really good.
Yeah, I'm really excited for her future. She's doing Atlanta this weekend.
Okay.
I think, we're going to bring her in just a little bit tighter, and we tweaked a few poses. And I sent the poses to 4 judges that were either judging her last weekend or judging her this weekend. They liked the tweaks, so we're hoping maybe we get an even better result. It's going to be a very tough lineup again. And then I also had a wellness pro making her pro debut. Jill, she turned up. Jill Lombardi, she turned pro at the North Americans in 2024. So,
okay.
And then I also had an open guy. He got third in the Masters, and then we didn't place in the Open in the pro show. So yeah.
Hey, third Masters is freaking awesome, man. What did you think of the Open pros?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Nick was fairly clearly the winner. I don't think this was his best look of all time. I think I was telling you before, I liked his 2021 Arnold Classic look. I feel like that might be among his best. And I also liked his Pittsburgh Pro look, where he got second to Derek. That one I was watching through a screen, whereas the Arnold Classic, I was literally 10 feet away from the stage, just like I was the other day. I felt like he looked a little bit better back then compared to this one. But without things being said, he was still clearly, I think, the winner, because he was very consistent all day, very dry. Posing got a little bit lazy as the show continued, which is kind of my recommendation to him, to actually practice his posing. I know he said he did not practice ever. But then I will say, I think the big thing that everyone was looking for was the Joe versus Nick, showdown. Right. And I think Joe missed the mark just a little bit. Not to say that he can't come back this weekend. I think he's doing Atlanta.
Yeah.
And completely right the ship. He just looked a little watery, and his waist looked a little wide. The improvements that he made to his physique were pretty dramatic, almost like wowing how much more size he had on his physique. Like this
He's
guy
a
is
big
still
dude, too,
growing
man.
at a very fast rate. Yeah. And then I think that James, and I was telling you guys this also, James under the lights doesn't look as impressive next to the other guys. For some reason, the way the light hits him just makes him look a little washed. When he took a step forward and was out of the direct light, he's arguably the most conditioned guy in that building. Like,
no kidding.
Detail was everywhere. I looked at my assistant coach who was sitting there with me, and we go, dude, holy crap, if they judge this show with a little less, like with a little bit dimmer lighting, James would be smoking this thing because he looked like an alien up there in a good way.
Can I play the other side for a minute?
Absolutely.
What if Nick stepped up another step?
Well, so that's where I'm going with this comparison, because you know when they say, "All right, gentlemen, pose down," and everyone thinks they're still judging, but they're not judging. It's just giving one of the judges time to walk up to the stage and you know, people are like,
scorekeeper,
get your hard poses and show your best poses. You know, it's really going to change the decision. No, it's just kind of something to get the fans to cheer. Sometimes they jump into the crowd and they do some posing with the people for pictures. But no, so they all walked up to that front of the stage. And this is where I thought James really stood out compared to Nick, Joe, Patrick Moore. I also got to give a huge shout out to Charles Griffin.
Oh, dude, you pulled it together. Great, man.
Out of this world. His the way he controls his waist, his taper, everything about his physique I loved. It's just unfortunate that he has that pec tear, you know? And I haven't talked to him about this or his coach, but I'm wondering if that's why he has to go right into a crab most muscular, because when he hits that shot compared to, say, Nick, who does a really nice hands class, you know, up nice and big and wide. Joe, hands class, up big and wide. James, same thing. He crouches down right into that most muscular, and I don't think that shows how muscular he really could be. Yeah. But I'm wondering if they do that because of the pec tear.
Yeah, but downplays the tear,
Yeah, but I got to give him a lot of credit. He came into the show, not that I thought he wasn't going to look great, but he came in, you know, because he's a veteran in the game at this point, and he still had really fresh young skin. His waistline was in nicely. His poses were spot on, and he brought a lot of energy to that show. He was, in a lot of ways, he might have been making it harder for the judges to put him where they put him, you know?
Huh. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, he did look good. All right, cool. Yeah, well, it's good to be back together. I had a topic I wanted to ask you guys about. This is kind of something I feel like, man, how many people are... So the question is cruising on more, well, the topic, cruising on more than TRT. And I know that a lot of the information that I've shared on the channel is bringing your levels back down, getting things in order. And that's because a lot of the people that I'm talking to are average guys that are, you know, like myself, average bros in the gym. We're not competing. I'm not competing at this point. But you know, that's not going to be the case for everyone. And how many people are really doing it? I don't know. It's easy to put just a little bit more in, you know what I'm saying? And push those levels up. I struggled personally when I was competing to bring those levels down without that fear. I always kind of felt like, oh, but just a little bit more, you know. But the reality is, you know, I want to talk to you guys, I guess. When does it make sense to cruise on more than TRT?
Hit it, Skip.
All the time? No. I mean, look, and that's why everybody asks that question. We take part in an industry that more is better. We don't usually go like, instead of doing 30 minutes cardio, I'm doing an hour 15, but it'll be like 35 or, you know, 40. Oh, I'll do an extra set. I'll do a little bit extra. I'm not sure if there's 60 grams there, so I'm just going to put a little bit more in. I think it's the same thing with gear. And the brain defaults to, what's the big deal? It's just a little bit more. Yeah. So at the end of the day, what are we trying to watch? We're trying to reset the body, could arguably be called a health phase, trying to get our markers in line on TRT, make sure that we're not going to die in a week or two. You know, a couple months, that's cool, but not in a week or two. We don't want to go that quick. So at the end of the day, the question becomes, what's another 50 milligrams? What's another 100 milligrams? If you're at 250, look, what do we consider? What do you guys consider TRT? And I understand that, you know, we can go blood levels or we can go dosing. But just from a dosing standpoint, I consider it 225 for me, because I know that hits me at the top, roughly the 1100 mark. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't do 250, 275 on occasion. And maybe it's only 4 or 5 weeks, but I'm like, yeah, what's the big deal, right?
Yeah.
I think a range of 150 to 250 is pretty common across the board for 90% of people that say they're going on TRT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what's not?
That 250 number, I think that comes from the fact that generally you get 250 per mil. That's not always the case, but hey, like 1 mil then.
I can't measure 8 units. I can't do that. I'm just going to go with 1.
Yeah. I found that even for some guys like 110, 125 is enough to put them at the top end of range. And that's where I'd consider to be like true TRT. But everybody that I work with, are they all running true TRT between cycles? Not all of them.
Yeah. I think it comes down to the definition of true TRT. Like true medical TRT to try to put you in high normal physiological range, not super physiological, or, dosed high enough that maybe you're still getting some type of, anabolic benefit, but not too high that it is restricting your health from improving so that you can hit the heavy cycle again. I think there's a little bit of, like how true are we going with TRT versus bodybuilding TRT, Yeah.
And there's a lot of variables in there. Age is a big one. And the reason I bring up age is because let's just put health aside for just a minute and just focus on markers returning to normal. One of the things that stands out with myself and people in the older demographic, in my age demographic, the older you get, the less likely that your markers are going to return to normal if you're not dropping to TRT. Some people drop to TRT and their markers don't even drop that much. You might have a hematocrit of an arbitrary number to make my point, but you have a hematocrit of 56 as an example. You drop to TRT from 1,800 milligrams or 2 grams, you drop to TRT and your hematocrit drops 2 points. Where when I was younger and younger clients, they'll reset and going back to TRT in 6 to 8 weeks. So there's an age component there, and I relate it to drinking. Back in the day, again, not speaking for anybody else but myself, but I could drink and I could go to the gym the next day or 2 days later, be like, oh, okay, cool, good workout. And then I realized I can't even function. I feel like death for 3 days. The body isn't as resilient and it's not as efficient the older we get in processing, whether it be alcohol or gear or anything else, probably other medications, but I don't know because I don't take much. I won't take ibuprofen unless I need it, or Tylenol. Tylenol's like, that might as well be pepperoni. I consider pepperoni poison. I know that's weird, but I can't eat pepperoni.
What?
You could hide it in something. I'll be like, that's the grossest thing ever.
Really?
Point is, I wouldn't take any of that, but you know what? Gear is on the table. I don't care too much about the gear. So I think it comes down to a resetting of the markers based on, and sometimes it's younger people too. Do they have that pattern of not being able to if you can't reset, then you do have to come down. Arguably, I've had to take people off. And then they'll reset in 8, 9, maybe 10 weeks. And then you can go back on TRT and build into the next cycle. And I want to go back on TRT because they're going to benefit from that after being on nothing. Yeah. You change pretty dramatically after being on nothing.
That was going to be one of my questions was how does that change for older guys versus younger guys? What about other compounds besides just testosterone cruising on, like DHTs, super, super common now. And that's something I had done in the past and my thought process behind it was like, well, if I'm going to like free up some more tests that I'm getting more out of the less tests that I'm taking and, all of that, when would it make sense? I guess I should say, what would be like maybe a scenario where you guys would think like, okay, yeah, I could see adding something else in during this cruise phase.
I really don't anymore.
Yeah.
I feel
you don't even take your shots half the time.
Yeah.
Dude, actually, so I took my first shot yesterday in, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. So
no kidding. I've been consistent, man. I've been doing really good.
Are you? No, I mean, here's
we talked about the preloading, and since I got that program rolling, I'm like good. Yeah.
I need to have my assistant do that, but I'm thinking like me and Tuttle were talking yesterday because he's been on the same bender I have with being in Las Vegas and then flying home and then coming to Tampa, and I feel like I've seen him more than I've seen my regular training partner. But like neither of us have been to the gym more than like once in the last 3 weeks. Taking supplements, like we even have our supplements packed and we're in our hotel rooms and stuff. I don't even go over and open the thing and take my supplements or my shots or anything. Like I'll eat my clean meals, but I do miss a few when I'm on the road. But when it comes to like all those little bodybuilder things, I just don't do them because it slips my mind, or it's like, oh, this isn't the right time. I'm not in a fasted state, so why bother taking it at this point? And then I get home and I have like 10 days worth of supplements.
I still forget to take them. So like I'll have all these little baggies of like fish oil and ubiquinol upstairs, like in my supplement cabinet, ready for the next trip.
It's just one of those things. I feel like when you cross over to coaching versus being a bodybuilder, because when I was a bodybuilder, I take my supplements, all that good stuff. I think you do always think of the other people. Not that like I'm unselfish all the time, but I'm saying you if there's something to do for a client or getting back on an email when you just got back from looking at someone else, you're apt to do that first because you just don't want to feel that heat, that pressure of, oh shit, I'm getting behind. If I get behind, I'm not gonna be able to go to bed till midnight. And then, you know what I mean? It's just, you try to always put work first, I guess.
Yeah.
There is a component of it doesn't matter a whole lot though.
What do you mean?
That might be fair in the scheme of
only
things.
because we've done it for so long. So I know my brain will default to, you know what, I've taken I'll get into bed and I'll be like, oh, I didn't take this. Or I didn't hit my GH. I'm like, you know what, I've hit it every day for the last 6 months. I think I'm good for a night. And that's coming from Mr. OCD.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I will get up, but you get what I'm saying. You have that consistency and you're like, okay, at the end of the day, I miss my ubiquinol and my vitamin K. I don't think I'm going to die by Tuesday. I think I'm okay.
In the scheme of things, 60 units of GH this week versus 70, how much is that really going to affect what you look like, your performance, what growth? I get what you're saying there. I will say this, like, if I am taking PEDs or even like TRT, I will take my supplements. Like they kind of go hand in hand for me. But when it comes to, if I'm not taking my gear, then
it all falls apart.
I got to be healthy. I'm good,
Yeah.
All right, so outside of us, and where you're at, we've got a lot of people that are listening that are pushing, and we've probably got guys that are using more than just test, in their cruises, whatever they're figuring out, be it test in 100 mast or test in 100 primo, keep my estrogen under control with that high level TRT dose of test. Are there times that you guys think it would make sense to utilize PEDs beyond test in that cruise phase?
I'm a test master on guy. You said it before, Scott. With free test. Look, I have this goal. I'm never going to achieve it, but I want to match my total test with my free test. Okay? Would that not be the most optimal scenario? You're like, no, I'm at 1,100. I'm at 1099, but my free testosterone's 1,000. You're going to be doing pretty well at that. Obviously, that can't happen, but you get my point. I'm making a joke saying, I want my free testosterone to be as high as possible. Like, I mean,
so
why not?
So, okay, so let's address your question about, is there a time and place for somebody to do TRT plus consistently, not just go back to cruising on straight TRT? That's kind of what you're asking?
Yeah.
I would say there's like a window of time, I don't know how many years we'll say it is, but for every bodybuilder, and obviously I guess I would say the ceiling you have for the sport might play a role here with how far you can really go. Do you have Olympian level genetics or turning pro level genetics? You might be the type that has, we'll say, less than healthy cruise phases. And understanding that, like Jay Cutler, his original plan was to be done the sport by 32, 33, I think. He obviously overshot that because he didn't start winning into the Olympia until a certain age. But I think like a lot of guys today, they plan out bodybuilding with, okay, I'm going to do this until this age, and then I'm going to get real serious and focus on maybe starting a family or making more money, or we're going to build the dream house we wanted, whatever it might be,
Yeah, I've got 5 years, Andrew. I've got 5 years left, and I want to get
Yeah, because how many times you get a client that says that, like, hey, I'm planning on dedicating the next 3 years to this sport, doing everything I can to maximize growth. If I get hurt in the process, I'm okay understanding that, within reason, we can deal with that. But So I do think that's a conversation with every individual client, you know. And I think sometimes too, as a coach, you got to tell someone like, hey man, let's not put all those balls in that court, because I can just tell you right now, we did one of these heavy cycles. You didn't respond like Derek Lunsford or a Nick Walker, or even like someone who's going to be a high level amateur.
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't put all the eggs in that basket. Like maybe let's have a little bit more of a balance to your life, because, hey, you got a wife and 2 kids that definitely rely on you. You've got a mom and dad who, you know, I see them commenting on your photos. You got people that really care about you. Maybe we shouldn't just kind of caution to the wind it. Let's take a little bit more measured approach. Every situation's different though, you know?
I like the last part better than the first 95%. And here's the thing. I've been doing this for the last couple weeks. I just want to play the other side. I want to play devil's advocate for a minute. Not saying that you're right or wrong, but as a listener, if I'm sitting on the other end and I'm going to be, you know, maybe a mid-level state or regional guy, but I love the sport. I love training. Like, this is my life. And you know what? I can build a house while I'm training. Or, you know, have a house built, maybe not build it yourself, but you get what I'm saying. You know, I'm going to build a family. I built a family, 4 kids. My wife worked full time. I built a business. You can still train and compete, and you can be pretty mediocre. I know, because I did that, you know, as a competitor, but my mediocre was the best that I could do. And I'll be honest, and it may sound to some like I'm justifying it, but some people listening are going to relate to this. I still want to be the best version that I can be. I want to be a bodybuilder, whether I'm competing or not. I want to walk around looking like a bodybuilder. We could have Dr. Kiko on, and he could break down my insecurities and why I am the way I am. But there's a lot of people like me. So I counter only the part about I'm going to give myself this amount of time. I'm willing to take those risks this amount of time. That's cool from a bodybuilding, like, career standpoint. But if you're not that good and you're not I mean, it's easy for Cutler to say, I'm only going to do it until this time. Phil, same thing. Lunsford or Nick Walker, but not a Skip Hill. A mediocre, everyday bodybuilder who just wants to be the best that they can. And I think, obviously, the vast majority of people who are listening are like that. But also the vast majority of people listening are willing to take a little bit of extra risk. That's why so many clients are TRT plus. And I don't know. I mean, the risk is there. There's always a risk with everything we do. But if your markers are coming back good, and that's not the entire equation, but it's a good portion of it, and you're younger, you make a good point, because I touched on that too. You know, at 56 and staying on, you know, year round or whatever, versus when I was in my 30s, people still scoff at that when I was in my 30s, but I was on for 3.5 years. I didn't have blood markers that were out of range. They were all high normal. I rode it until I couldn't ride it anymore, and ranges started to go out of range. Probably based on age or duration of the amount of, you know, years that I had done gear. Point is, I don't know. I think some people would be like, yeah, I don't know if I want to put a time on it. The other part is, can people put a time on? You don't know how. I'm going to give myself 5 years. Well, if I had waited 7, maybe I'd have been a pro. I mean, we get to that 5-year mark or the 4-year mark. It's easy to say 5 years when you're 32 or 28.
I'm saying
shit changes.
You kind of know when someone, okay, so you know fairly early on if someone has the potential to be an open pro, you know, by the time they're, like the kid Anton that's destroying, you know, Classic right now, right?
Yeah.
19 or 18 turn pro, we know this kid's going to be a force for the next 10, 12 years, you know? Whereas versus a guy like, hey, you might have what it takes to become a Masters pro at 35. And in that case, you can still be competitive in the IFBB Pro League in open shows, you know? It's not all the time, but like I can think of John Meadows, Kareth Bajo, Josh Wade, and a few other guys that were winning shows, ultra competitive, made it to the Olympia or made it to the Arnold in that age range. Once you get above that age range, it's kind of hard in your 40s, 45s, 50s to justify doing the same things that a 20-something-year-old will do to try to get to that next level. That's all I'm saying.
I don't disagree. No. I just know there are people who are listening who are going, fuck that guy. I'm listening
that's
to
okay.
Skip. You know what I mean? Because we can look at physiques and go, okay, have a better idea of whether there's potential there or not. We don't always know we have a better idea because we have a trained eye. But I wouldn't want to listen. I mean, this may sound shitty. Hear me out, because I don't mean this shitty. But if I came to you as a client, or someone came to me as a client, and I said, let me put it on me. Someone came to me as a client, and I said, I see the potential. I'm not sure. I know there are plenty of people just like me who'd be like, you know what? Fuck Skip. Like, I don't. And sometimes you get proved wrong. I never thought Shelby would have turned pro. people that don't have that potential or that you don't think have that potential. But at some point he was like, fuck them. If someone told me, so I'm just trying to play the other side. I'm not saying you're wrong. You make very, very good points. I just I feel like there are people listening who are like, yeah, I'm going to push the envelope anyway because I just want to be the best version I can be.
Well, let me just add this though. To me, the epitome of stupid is doing the same thing over and over again and then expecting a different result. So let's say, you commit 2 to 3 years of gassing it and not taking true TRT cruises, like staying a little more on the anabolic side in between those cruises. And lab markers never get perfect, okay? If after 3 years you have not made significant steps towards looking like you're on, you haven't placed top 5 at a national show, or you haven't gotten first or second place at a Masters qualifier, and maybe just barely missed your pro card. If you don't have those things going for you, I think it's a little bit. I would have a hard time telling a guy, just keep blasting. Yeah. I feel like as I've gotten older, especially on the other side of this, I feel it's kind of my job to. I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. It's kind of my job to be honest with people about what they can expect out of the sport. I feel like I was a very middle-of-the-road genetics guy, good structure, didn't gain muscle all that fast necessarily, but I did put on 60 pounds over my bodybuilding career. I think that's realistically something that a lot of people can do. Does that translate into a look that can get an IFBB pro card and then be competitive on that stage? That's the conversation, Again, but to each his own. Like if everyone... I'm not here to tell someone what they can or can't do. I never put down like you should never do that. To each your own. As long as you understand the risks, I just feel like it's my job a little bit more as I get older to try to mentor guys like in the right direction, or what I perceive as the right direction.
And I know that you believe that because if you didn't, or if I didn't think that, you'd basically be telling me, bro, just don't do any.
Yeah.
And I know that that's not the case. Just, like I say, I like to play the other side.
No, it's good. I think people should hear the other side because no one wants to see a show where 3 guys just agree with each other over and over again.
So is politics the next topic?
Chicken Burrito said Barry's side is more logical, Skip's side is more passion. That's really what it comes down to.
I don't disagree with that. That's fair. I don't disagree with that.
It doesn't,
but yet at the same time,
wrong.
I'm not reckless. I just want to put that out there because I have been accused of that before, and I'm like, wow, I'm very calculated. I am still very careful. I just come up with some shit sometimes that doesn't go right. Anyway,
also your situation's a little different in that your kids are all grown and you've done your job. You've done that phase.
I've actually said that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying because I've heard you say that. Your wife, she's a high earner. She doesn't even need you to take care of her, but so it's like. That the people that used to depend on you, they don't depend on you anymore in the same way financially. So you can live your life exactly as you want to.
I start coughing, just coughing, like normal cough. My wife's looking for the policy in the drawer. Like, what are you doing?
We got that updated,
it sounded
right?
like a bad cough. I'm like, God.
All right, listen, we got a bunch of questions, guys. And I had one more for you, Andrew. So last episode, we did poverty prep. We talked about... Ron Partlow had a year where he did like this poverty prep where he was like, I've got 10 amps of test and, whatever it was, some Winstrol that he ran at the end or something. I can't remember what it was, but it was minimal. So real quick, I wanted to ask you, poverty prep, if you had to do that, like test in one other compound, or what would that look like, assuming that like you could hardly afford anything?
You got to go back in time.
Yeah.
Tuna out of a can,
Oh, yeah. So the whole thing, diet and everything?
No, just
no.
I'm just trying to take you back. That's
I would probably do like 600 milligrams of test, so like 2 cc's of like a test E or test C per week, and then I would probably. Am I only allowed like one other compound or?
Fairly one other thing at a low dose.
Let's say I would probably just Masteron or Tren. I look good on both. Let's say Tren, okay? Because I would just diet my ass off. And then, maybe I could bum a couple tablets of Winstrol from Buddy over the last 2 weeks and do 25 mgs a day. And I think I could make that work. And look,
these guys got crafty. They were, I think it was like, you could take 500 tests in one other compound for the last 2 weeks. That's what it was. Yeah.
So 500 tests. man, one other compound for the last 2 weeks. Then I got to go with an oral. I got to go with an oral that's going to actually. So I'm probably going to say Winstrol, and I'm going to just 100 milligram a day it right for the 2 weeks straight through.
I think that's what we all kind of fell on. Although, no, Nelson went with Proviron, and these guys started coming up with ideas where they're like, if I have enough for 600 tests, then I'll just run 500 tests and sell one vial, and then I'll get some.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, if I know you two guys are doing it too, then I'm like, hey, I'll give you some of my Masteron, you give me some of your Winstrol, and then we'll just low dose it together, you know?
Yeah.
Does Andrew have the audacity to take 100 milligrams of Winstrol a day for the last 2 weeks? Or is it temerity to take that 100 milligrams of, I'm just working my words in there, Scott.
Very nice.
Or is it temerity?
Temerity.
It is. Well, I mean, it depends on what your perspective, but temerity would be more reckless.
Yeah.
And not taking danger into consideration, where audacity is just outside of the box behavior that's, kind of pushing the limit.
And that's where I'm looking at it, because 100 milligrams, maybe not for 2 weeks straight for a lot of people out there, but it's very common for people to be taking 100 milligrams or even 150 mgs of Winstrol over the last 5 days leading into a show. So,
look, I just had to work my words in there so Scott would get me in before the outro.
That was good. That was good.
This is my mission for the next shows.
All right, so we've got a bunch of listener questions, and you guys are welcome to comment with questions. In fact, we recently got a question that was like, how do I ask questions on the show? You comment on the latest episode. So this show comes out every Friday, and you're welcome to leave questions on it. We'll tackle it down the road. We've got one from Aaron here. He said, let's see. How do you bring up your SHBG? He said, let's see, naturally have high test. It's at 1,000. Estradiol is at 47. Actually, no, that was a different guy. Can you do a video on two SHBG questions? Can you do a video on SHBG if it's low, like nearing single digits? Should it be raised prior to starting a cycle of, say, test and DECA? And how would you go about raising it if you wanted to raise it?
Andrew's got that perplexed look on his face too.
Well, like, why?
We're both like, what the?
Why are you trying? Why are you trying to lower your free testosterone?
Yeah.
Like free testosterone is like if you have a nice piece of jewelry and then you melt it down and you take all the expensive gold out of it. I mean, I guess there's like, first off, if you want to increase your SHBG, liver health is a big thing because that's where it's made. So make sure your liver's running efficiently. If you need to detox it or run some supplements, go for it. Check your vitamin D status. Insulin sensitivity. That's the other thing.
Yes.
Yeah. When your insulin sensitivity is failing, it's going to have an effect on your SHBG. So those are the three things I would recommend. But again, I'm trying to figure out why.
Why would he want to?
Unless it's like 2,
I've had, I figured this out through some low dose Anavar experimentation a couple of years back. And I started talking to other people. I never noticed this before. Maybe it's like a thing as I'm aging. But I found that with that and then running mast as well, like as part of my cruise, when my SHBG got really crushed, I started feeling really crappy. Mm-hmm. And then as I brought it back up, it felt better. And I talked to other people who had experienced the same thing. So it's something that I really hadn't ever thought would be a reason to bring it up. But that was the only thing.
And bigger, crappy. Yeah. I'll just take them both.
Well, because like when you're a lot more jacked, you also don't feel as good either. Or let's say you're deep in the off season and you're 280 when you like to be 260, you feel uncomfortable and you don't feel good then too. So it's like, but I get what you're saying that, there's a reason why there is a range for SHBG, and that's, whether it's affecting brain and other body functions. Yeah, it makes sense. I will say SHBG is, in my opinion, is more important for females. If a female has a tanked SHBG,
they're like way more sensitive.
They're more sensitive to it, and it usually plays a role in PCOS in terms of, failing insulin sensitivity, high androgens. You're at a propensity to run into some issues with PCOS and other issues such as that.
My thought was Scott had talked about how SHBG is a carrier, that it's basically a delivery system.
Taxi.
Yeah, to move things around. So my thought was, am I not moving it around to like my brain, for instance, where it needs to be, or, you know, something that I'm not aware of?
Well, yeah, but you also have more free circulating testosterone to attach to the androgen already. So, you know what I mean, it means it's already been delivered or it's already there, you know?
Yeah, which we all know this, but maybe there are viewers who don't know this. There's an inverse relationship with SHBG and free testosterone. I mean, you don't need to see your free testosterone if you have SHBG, and you don't need to see your SHBG if you see your free testosterone, if you know how to read it. Because if free testosterone is high, SHBG is low, and the inverse is also true. How do I know? I was inverted. It was a reach, but you see where I was going.
Someone says Scott's got he's got a video or something on SHBG receptor complex and how lower isn't more anabolic. So I would say this, like tanked isn't necessarily more anabolic. On the lower side is absolutely more anabolic. I'll stand on that like till the day I die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that excessively high SHBG is probably less anabolic.
Well, which ones, if you have to pick one, go with the
I'd rather be on the lower side personally. I mean, shit.
I'll take tanked all day over high.
Yeah.
So change nothing, Joseph. The other guy, Aaron, he said, all right, so he's the guy who said, let's see, question, was that it? Yeah, okay. Says he's naturally at 1,000 test, 47 estradiol, and SHBG is 88. Does it change how I should approach my cycle design, whether it is like duration, compound selection, etc., AIs, and all of that? So if you had high SHBG, and it sounds like you must be natural, you know, like not on TRT going into this, would that make any difference going into the cycle?
It's hard to say. We got to see what happens once he adds a super physiological dose of testosterone.
My guess is it's just going to go down from there, you know?
More than likely. Yeah. I mean, if it is still, you know, elevated or on the higher side, he could add, you know, some low dose Proviron in. He could add in like Anavar or something of that nature, you know. I think I would hesitate to say, hey, go into this expecting to add another compound. Go into it doing the testosterone that you want to run, and then because he's going to do a regular testosterone cycle. Is that what I heard? Or
I think he said test and DECA.
Oh, okay.
He's
I don't
at
remember
1,000 natural tests?
Yeah. No, he didn't say test and DECA. I made that up completely. He just
So we're all making shit up. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently, yeah.
We have control over these questions. We're just fabricating them.
We just write our own questions under fictitious names, you know.
Sorry, Aaron. All
We
right.
get a question by Tony Clifton. Do you guys get the reference or no?
No.
Tony Clifton, really? Come on, the lounge singer. It was
Let me look him up real quick.
the guy from Taxi Cab. He was the alter ego of what's his face? It's from Taxi. Kaufman.
Andy something?
Thank you, Andy Kaufman.
Andy Kaufman?
Andy Kaufman's after. He's the lounge singer in the suede suit. First, I was afraid. I was petrified. You guys don't remember that?
No.
It's a little before my time, just from looking at the pictures.
Well, Jim Carrey did the movie
I'm going to be honest.
Man in the Moon. You guys got to see that.
I think Jim Carrey's a fucking idiot. Like, I don't like his movies.
See, I think I don't like his early stuff where it's, you know, just the funny slapstick stuff. But man, watch Man in the Moon. It's not even funny. And you don't even have to be an Andy Kaufman fan to love it. We accidentally went to the movie. We were going to something else. We went in the wrong door.
You're kidding.
And years ago. And my wife and I were enthralled within 10 minutes, and we stayed. And it was a really good movie. Andy Kaufman was before my time too, fuckers. That was like in the 70s. I was 5.
What was that movie where I think it was with Jim Carrey, and it was like his whole life was being videotaped?
Truman Show.
Truman Show. Oh, dude, that
was I actually I like that movie.
Then you would
That was
like
good.
Man in the Moon, guaranteed.
Yeah, my limited time to watch like entertainment is not going to be spent on that. I'm just going to be honest right now.
If you don't like it, I'll be shocked. I know I understand you don't have a lot of time. I'm just saying if you get a chance to watch it, I'd be shocked if you didn't like, especially if you like Truman Show.
So shout
I'm
out to our
limited now
listeners.
to
They can
like
check it out.
Taylor Sheridan shows, and because
Well,
I
that's-
know
yeah.
I know I'm going to like Taylor Sheridan shows.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're watching those. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
it's a pretty safe bet for sure.
When you train hard, your muscles don't just burn glycogen for fuel, they also become more receptive at uptaking nutrients. Taking in carbohydrates around your workout helps to replenish glycogen, supports recovery, and it creates an environment where the amino acids you're consuming can get where they need to be to help repair and build some freaking muscle. That's why one of my favorite products at TrueNutrition.com is their highly branched cyclic dextrin. It's a high molecular weight carbohydrate with unique cone-shaped structure that'll basically just scoop the aminos up and carry them to the muscle much better than less complex carbs. It's very low osmolality, which means that it moves quickly through the stomach. It's easy on the stomach, making it my #1 carb choice for intra-workout nutrition. But hey, if you're looking for a more budget-friendly option, check out CarboLoad. It delivers great performance at a much lower price. If you're using 25 grams of carbs per workout, you'll get roughly 30 servings from a $20 bag, making it one of the best values out there. Check out both options at TrueNutrition.com, and don't forget to use discount code THINK to save 10% on your orders, plus, of course, support the podcast. Could Skip talk more about his history with back issues and protocols for treatment? I'm going through something that sounds pretty similar. I've integrated the flat back leg raises that he mentioned into my PT routine, and they seem to have helped. That's awesome. Also, are there any compounds that you found helped or hurt the disc hydration?
It's not a gear issue. I can tell you that straight away. Gear isn't going to help that type of situation directly. There's so much to unwrap that I got to try to just keep it very, very short.
He had a bad ventricular shot too, by the way. I'm just reading it was like a long paragraph.
While you're talking, I'm just going to open the door, let my dog in. He's scratching.
Okay.
Percy.
Here's the thing. #1, it depends on what your issue is with lower back, because it may sound similar, but if it's mine was related to disc issues. I had bulging L4, L5.
2 bulge discs.
Okay.
Is basically what it comes down
to.
Yeah.
And first thing I'll say is it can absolutely, I can't say 100%, but I can say with a high level of confidence it can be fixed, because I was to the point where I thought I was screwed. And I'll say this, the vast majority of issues are because one side is somewhere in the hip. It is pulling against the other side. Chiropractic adjustments fix it as like a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. You'll be like, oh, that feels so much better. And as soon as that adjustment happens and everything's in alignment, within minutes, the tight side is starting or beginning to pull it out of alignment again. So as boring as it sounds, as much as nobody wants to do it, as much as I hated it, it is the #1 thing is the stretching. I've got a stretching protocol that I still use to this day on the TRT Bodybuilding DVD. I know I'm aging myself with that. On the teamskip.com website. Or on Team Skip YouTube channel. It's the same thing because it'll kick you to the YouTube channel. But find the stretch chapter and do that religiously before you train legs and back primarily, but it's even better to do everything else. You're not stretching prior to necessarily aggressively increase range of motion. You're trying to open everything up so that you're not tight on the one side. It's that asymmetry that will mess you up. From there, leg lifts and things like that. I would caution against leg lifts and stuff if you have an imbalance, because that could be a recipe for disaster. You want to be very, very careful with that. But once you get things into alignment, I've been injury-free now with my lower back for over 10 years, and it still is on my brain, and I refuse to train legs or back without stretching. And I still don't train legs without my warm-up protocol for my knees, even though I've shortened it. It's something that I refuse to do. If I don't have the time to do my protocol prior to train, I won't train that day.
I just looked up Team Skip Stretching TRT DVD, and it's the second video in. So if you search that on YouTube, you'll find that. And Skip, you look a little saucy there. You look a little thick.
I was probably holding a little water. No, that was back in the day when I would walk around thick, without a K.
Decade days.
Just thick.
3 C's?
No, moon face and everything else. I look back on that and I'm like, I don't like that. You know, I'm obviously a little filled out right now, but I like to, in my older age, I don't like to walk around looking like off season and puffy face and everything else. I love being just lean as hell. And I feel better, if I'm being honest.
I could relate to a lot of what you said there, and especially too with that tightness on one side, Skip. I'm sending myself a picture, a screen capture of you.
I haven't been to a chiropractor in 8 of the 10.5 years, actually it's coming up on 11 now, but 10 and a half years that I have been injury free. Not that chiropractic doesn't help. Yeah, look at that face.
That's a thick skip.
That's funny. I was strong then, no.
Dude, I felt the same way with
the
chiropractic,
fallback.
man. I felt the same way with chiropractic. Like it gave me relief, and it has given me relief for that particular issue. But within a short period of time, it was back to where it was.
Yep. Now you combine the two. There's nothing wrong with getting adjustments. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, my thing was I'm not going to take the time out of my day and spend the money. You know, back it was in Colorado, that house right there. We called it our death house. We lived at 9,000 feet. It was the top of a canyon. It took almost 20 minutes just to get to the bottom of the canyon. And that was coming into Golden, which is a suburb of Denver. Anywhere we were going was 45 to 50 minutes to a grocery store or anything else. We would check this out. We would get our groceries at the bottom of the canyon in Golden. And by the time, at the Safeway down there, by the time we drove up to the top, you could hear, on occasion, the potato chip bags would pop.
Oh,
for the
no
kids,
kidding.
not for me.
Wow.
That's not why I was holding water at that point.
I don't know why I'm holding all this water.
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying? That difference, that change in elevation. And if they didn't pop, you could just literally just take a pin and they'd go boom.
Dang.
They were like those packing bubbles, you know.
To be fair, too, we didn't have as many modalities 15 years, 20 years
Agreed.
ago
Yeah.
like we do now. There was, like, you couldn't find, like, I remember trying to find ART. You know what, too? Part of it, there was like one person, and I couldn't afford it at the time. It's like $150 for a session. You know, I can't afford it. That's like my paycheck, half my paycheck. You know, but it was like one person to be able to find anything other than like just going to your chiropractor. That was like the only option.
Well, and stretching is, you don't pay for it.
Yeah.
It's cheap. It's just boring, and it reminds you that, there's the old guy stretching before he works. I still will see a kid will look at me, and I'm thinking, that's what he's thinking. That's how my brain works. Yeah, the old guy, he's not going to work out today. He's kind of big for just stretching, and then, but 30 minutes later, 20 minutes later, he goes to the weights.
We were all there at one point, you know.
Oh yeah.
You just don't know what you don't know yet.
Yep.
GE Training from Patreon. He says, 28 years old, guys, and I've been training for 14 years. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes 5 years ago. I'm currently taking 5 units of Trabesa daily and 2 to 5 units of Fias with every meal as needed. I have 7 meals a day. That is what I found is best for me to eat in every 2 to 2.5 hours so that my blood sugar is as stable as possible. I also have a huge appetite, so it's much easier for me mentally when I know that I have another meal in another 2 hours. He wears a continuous glucose monitor, and he's in range 99% of the time. I've also been diagnosed with hypogonadism 2 years ago. I am with a TRT clinic taking 100 milligrams of SIP, split into 5 injections, as well as some HCG. Of course, sorry, my question went away. Basically, so getting to the point here, I'm on point with diet and sleep. My training is push, pull, rest, legs, rest, repeat. My question is, how can I bring out the most of my disease? I'm trying my best, but I would like to hear opinions. Upping the dose is not really an option, as I am on blood tested with my TRT clinic every 6 months. So I think he means, like, given his disease, given his issues that he has, how can he get the most out of his bodybuilding without increasing the gear?
Well,
Swanson, Anth Bales. I'm trying to think of guys who are type 1 who are just incredible bodybuilding. Number one, you found bodybuilding. Is there a better lifestyle choice than bodybuilding if you're a diabetic? What's blowing me away, and maybe it shouldn't, so you guys can laugh at me if you want, but when did he find out he was type 1? He was born with that.
No, there's a lot of people now that find out later on in life. And
I've seen that.
I think a lot of the, I think they're genetically predisposed. I can't speak.
Disposed.
Like my dad, for instance. Yeah, predisposed. I don't know what I was thinking. My dad, for instance, exercised every day of his life. Never overweight, not once. You know, never overate, never overdrank. Very fit. If you saw him, you'd be like, oh, this guy's very, I guess svelte would be a good word. Like very thin, but, you know, decent muscle, you know. And he found out at like age 40, I think, that he had diabetes, and it wasn't necessarily type 1. It wasn't necessarily type 2. So I think we're finding that there's autoimmune conditions can set off particular sets of situations in people, affecting their pancreas, affecting their insulin production, as well as their insulin sensitivity. So,
And
with
dude,
that said, though,
if he's 28 years old and he's also on TRT because he needs it, that was my thought too, is there's got to be something autoimmune going on that's hitting something, is happening there.
I'd wonder, did you guys think about GH? Is he short?
Well, before you go even there, I think he said he's worried about the testing every 6 months and losing the TRT script. There's a lot of ways around that, my friend.
Yeah,
like
no kidding.
you
We've
go
done
and get your
shows on
labs
that.
done with Dr. January 1, and you hit a nice cycle for 3-4 months, and then you just make sure that your blood levels are back in range by the time you go and get tested in June or July or whatever it is. So if he's scared of losing his TRT script or something of that nature, but he is eager to add more PEDs in, you can absolutely do that. Common sense, just make sure you stop taking your testosterone for probably 10 to 12 days before you go and get your next set of labs. But then
We did a whole show on that. Remember, like it was in the last couple of months.
several times. Yeah, and Skip, you were talking about growth. Hit it.
Well, I just curious because that's how I was. What I want to say, how I met all those kits of GH in a buddy's refrigerator because he was in the middle of a study with the U of M or with the University of Michigan, and there's like 40 kits of Genentech, Protropin, GH.
Okay.
And this is back in the 80s. Point is he was in that study because he was short, he was underdeveloped from a pituitary standpoint. I'm wondering if where you said he's hypogonadal, is that related to pituitary too? So is he shorter? What are his IGF levels? What do they look like? Maybe they're real high, and that has fed high blood sugar for a long time throughout life. Maybe he's like 6'9" or so. I don't know. I'm just curious if there's some connection there. If he's been through the testing and he has found that he's hypogonadal, I just wonder what the pituitary function looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not a bad call, man.
And I'm sure that they looked into it at some point. So if he's listening and he's thinking, no, I don't think there's probably not an issue because they would have found it, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Is that what you were talking about, Andrew?
Yeah, more or less. I mean, I guess I keep going back to like, why not just use more PEDs?
I know, yeah. But then, and I know what you mean, because then you're kind of like, well, okay, he's new to this. We don't want to. Like if he was a kid and he'd go back to his parents and say, "Yeah, I listened to this podcast and they just told me to take a big. You're a type 1 diabetic, son. You're 16 years old. We don't want anything to happen to you."
He's 28.
And then we're being served papers. No, I know.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if you were
But
younger.
you started this off by talking about several great bodybuilders that have type 1 diabetes, and they probably have other issues. Like I'm sure Brent's been, and I'm sure Anth Bale's been hitting the bodybuilding game for a long time, and maybe they would have the same hypogonadism that this gentleman does had they never gotten into bodybuilding at a young age, but they did, and they both built incredible physiques. Actually, this is Brent's last year competing.
Is it?
Yeah, I talked to him about a couple weeks ago. He wants to qualify for a Masters Olympia and do that next year, and then right off into the sunset. So
Good for him. Good for him.
and and I think he was not loving that he was just starting to do master shows, but I'm like, Brent, like you have absolutely nothing left to prove in this bodybuilding game, dude. Like you've done it at all levels, at a great level. You built a huge freaky physique. You turned pro in the open, and everyone and I know respects you, dude. Like, so
Yeah. He's the nicest guy too. You'll see him at every expo with like, is it Lana? No, not Lana's. He's with Egg White International. He's
Yeah,
with
Egg White
with
International.
one of the egg white companies. But like you'll see him walking around there like every time. him and his wife, they are what bodybuilding is. If you talk to them, they're the coolest people.
Brent always looks jacked. Like,
Yeah.
you see him in an expo, he's wearing a tank top, and you're instantly like, that's the biggest dude in the room. He's got the crazy delts and arms, whether, he's in Michigan, whether he's in Florida, he's wearing that tank top at the expos or in the bodybuilding shows. And he looks, he's conditioned year round, to say the least,
He's
great bodybuilder.
He's been with that company forever too. Like since I've been in bodybuilding, I feel like and that says something if somebody is with sponsored by the same company that many, over a decade, I'm sure of it.
Easily. Yeah.
All right, we've got a bunch more listener questions. We'll try to get to a couple of them here still, and we do have a physique critique, but if you guys want to take part in the show, we'd be happy to answer your questions on a future one. So definitely comment. Jumping into something from YouTube here. This is from Julian. He said, "Hey Scott, if you wanted your client to train with more intent and intensity, who would you point them to give them that kind of a reference? I struggle with making my sets robotic, but not sure how to switch that. Thank you and love the shows." I want to also mention Ron Partlow has this term. I think he may be referring to that he calls robot reps. He's like, I want your reps, your last rep should look like your first rep. And that's what you might not be able to do that, but I want you to strive to do that. Imagine if you were a robot, what would your reps look like? That's what your goal is. And it's a good picture. I've actually used that term with clients too, robot reps. I like that. So I think that might be what he's referring to. So he's asking, who would you point to? So who are you guys thinking that you'd say like, hey, this guy's a really hard trainer, watch him? And what else, other advice would we give him?
I'm thinking of two, like complete opposite ends of the spectrum. And listen, hear me out. So I'm thinking of Branch Warren for the intensity side of things.
That's what I thought of.
But then I'm thinking of Nick Walker for the execution side of things, right? So how do you blend that to get that same level of emptying the tank, but also have the form match the precision of movements that say a Nick Walker or some of the other guys are exhibiting today? That I would use those two examples. Like how do you harness this fury that the Branch has, but then also have this kind of precision? I don't know if it's possible because you can just tell Branch goes to another place. Like he's just going to rip it and go. I guess a good example might be like Dusty Hanshaw. I think he does a great job of both in terms of harnessing that intensity that you need to go all the way to the end, but then also making sure his reps look pretty textbook towards the end as well. I mean, what do you guys think?
Except for his barbell rows. Don't do what he does unless you're with him.
I'm thinking, okay, so in my mind, you're always stuck with like what's in your mind's eye, and I'm thinking of watching him do a hack squat set.
Oh, dude, his leg training is completely
That's
different.
What I'm getting at.
And he's talked about that. Like he was like, it was actually him and Ron talked about it, and Ron had said to him at one point, like, "Hey, Dusty, I don't think you can keep training legs the way you train everything else. Like, you're gonna get hurt." And so he's like, from there forward, something clicked. And he went to like 20 rep sets and he cleaned it up and it just opened his eyes. But at the same time, he's like, I can still train my back the way I've always trained it. And that's what works for me, but I don't tell anybody else to do it.
Yeah.
And there'll come a point where maybe he can't. I don't mean that to sound negative. Yeah. And I don't want him to hear that and go, God, Skip's a dick. Because that's not my intention. But
sure,
there may come a time where pulling those, in other people's, I don't think they're sloppy. I can't use the word sloppy because I don't think they're sloppy. I think they're loose. But I don't think they're any more loose than Sean Ray's side laterals with Kevin Lavroni back in the day, or even their cable press downs. There's just more of a vulnerability for some of the exercises that Dusty does with that looser form. But, at the end of the day, it comes down to what is productive. And it is clearly productive. I don't know if we were talking about it on this show or my show, but the question was if Dusty cleaned up his form for bent rows or did 10 years ago, would his back be better than it is? And I don't think it would be.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it would be any better than it is. So you know, I don't know. There may come a time where he cleans that up like he did with legs. I would say that your comparison, Andrew, is about as good as it can get.
I like that, too.
Because I'm literally racking my brain going, well, I can't say that because, Ronnie or what. And I went to Anth, and I know that we just talked about Anth, but Anth, he has a good combination. And I don't know if I'm just thinking of him because his name just came up. I'd like to think that I would think of that name anyway because I've always admired his physique. I think he has a very Sean Ray-esque physique, very in his prime. And I'm not saying he looks bad now. He doesn't look bad, but he's battled with some injuries and stuff. And I don't think hasn't competed in a while. Really good mechanics balanced with. There's still some crazy there. And you're right. If you're Branch Warren out here, it's a matter of time. I put Branch and Ronnie in that category, and I don't think Ronnie's current health situation is entirely from his training. I think that he had that genetic issue to begin with. The training may not have helped and exacerbated it, but I don't think it created it, and I don't think that's his main issue. But Branch, all them, it's just put the two together, find a middle ground. I think that's your best bet. You're
good, Andrew. I saw you popped out for a minute.
Yeah, well, I just got a heads up on my thing. I don't know why I didn't think of this immediately because I think this epitomizes what we're looking for is Michaela Aycock. Her training the form is stellar, but you can see the grind right up to the minute she puts the bar away. So, and she's actually doing a lot of training with a lot of guys down here lately, sharing her expertise and her knowledge and whatnot. So
no kidding.
Anyone down here, I think she's taking clients on if people are looking for a really good trainer down in the South Florida area. She's your girl.
Yeah, that's
someone put here Andrew Jack, since he is the physique I'm aiming for. So I don't think it's always best to aim for the training style of the physique that you particularly like. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I've watched Andrew
train. Do you have genetics like Andrew? There's that.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest. I've watched Andrew train both before and after Kamal, and Kamal fixed a lot of stuff. Don't get me wrong, but I remember watching Andrew Jack do some leg presses, and I had to leave a comment like, "Are you coming back to do the other half tomorrow? Because your rep range looks like you're just touch and go. Now, he grew off of it, so it's not necessarily wrong, but."
Right.
With that being said, to trickle down to the general us pros of the bodybuilding world.
Oh, he said he was
joking.
I
feel like, what's that? Oh,
he
was
joking. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Okay. You got me.
Somebody mentioned Brett Wilkin, Nick Gloff. He's a great guy. In fact, I've followed him for a freaking long time. Like since he was basically a kid, I think. I haven't seen his videos in a while, but he had always been so freaking intense. And I've always mentioned, somebody brought him up here, was Justin Shire. I like Justin Shire's training, his back training. I see those videos come up, and I just got to stop and watch the set.
I feel like it's a little too controlled. And I guess it's one of those things, when there's bad form when you see it. It's really hard to describe exactly where the point of, we'll say, body English is bad form,
That's a good point, dude. What amount of body English should we be adding?
Obviously coming from, John Meadows' school, was John as, we'll say, strict as, Brett or Justin or Nick or some of the other people we're talking about? Absolutely not. But I don't think anyone would ever look at his videos and be like, oh, that's cheating or that's poor form on an exercise,
Yeah.
So another one, Evan Centopani. I really liked his training videos. The intensity was there. He's kind of more like John Meadows, in my opinion, where the form is absolutely clean. Is there a little more body English than some of the other pre-mentioned people? Absolutely.
Is there a word? The word is kind of coming to mind is there's a little bit. There's a common sense element of getting a little bit more out of it at the end of the set as form begins to break down. I feel like both John and Evan had a real good common sense in how far to let that loose.
I agree.
What does that look like psychologically? Because I know in my brain what I'm thinking when that happens. And the best way to explain it is this. You're looking for that little bit extra, not rep, not number, I want to get to 12 or 13, but that I want to add a little bit more stress than racking it. You know, I even think of something that I do that I'm sure I've been looked at as that it's weird, but when I'm done with a set of pendulums, I will do what some people would refer to as like 1/6 or, you know, of reps at the top, because there's that point where I'm probably only moving the shoulder pad this much.
Yeah.
But it's enough that there's a blowtorch on the top of my rec fem that at some point, if I try another one, I'm going all the way down. There's not going to be any resistance. It's going to be really bad. At least one disc is going to shoot out of my back, and it might hit the wall. I mean, that's how my brain sees it. So little things like that, where you're not looking for extra reps. You're just trying to extend the stress and the stimulus on that muscle. And I think that good quality cheating, or you know, leader cheat principle, that is the best way to apply it versus, oh, I got to get 10 reps. So I'm focused on this very black and white, like I got to get another rep. I got to get another rep. I think there's a big difference between those two thought processes.
Well, it also opens up, because two completely different schools of thought with training, DC training from Dante, Mountain Dog from John, both came to the conclusion that it's a positive to add in partial reps, just like you're talking about, Skip. So I think, you know, would moving to partial reps, it's not a full repetition. Like, is the set done because you can't do a full repetition with the same form? And where I'm going with this is, I see a lot of guys when they rack the bar doing perfect form, or at least I can speak for myself. If I'm going to use 100% the exact same form I used on that very first rep, I'm going to rack the bar and I'll be like, I still feel like I have 3, 4, 5 more reps in me.
Yeah, like there's something left. I'm leaving something on the table. Yeah.
My intensity scale stopped at an 8. Let's just say it went to an 8 and it didn't go to a 10 or beyond, you know? And I do feel like those sets where you go to 10 and beyond, I'm getting a little more out of those, you know, whether it's a buddy, just hand on the bar, just kind of guiding it a little bit for the last 1 or 2, or as you pointed out, Skip, dropping down and just doing that upper 1/6, 2/6 of the movement, just killing your rec fem to where you're like, I gassed everything in my legs now, you know?
Yeah, or even a little bit of lower back on that curl, just to kind of get it moving. Little
body.
You know what? And I got away from that, and it's only been recently that I started rethinking it, because when I got to my absolute strongest, which was like 5 years ago now, I was using like real strict textbook form, and I either was going to get the rep and write it down, or I was going to fail trying, and then I was going to stop. And I feel like, and it was part of it was talking to you, Skip, about doing drop sets, and then part of it was watching a John video, and I was like, you know what, I used to, and I think I'm at a place where I'm like ready to bring that stuff back in. So I've worked in a little bit more of that end of the set intensity. I think for where I'm at, it's not a bad thing at all.
You know what's funny is, you know, because I talk to a lot of, we'll call them the real old heads of the sport, you know, guys that competed 90s, 2000s, you know. I think they think we spend way too much time talking about the nuances of the perfect set or the perfect rep. And these are all guys that build great physiques. I'm not even talking about the good pros that build great genetics with great genetics that went to the IFBB league. You know, I'm talking about the guys that you knew when you were a youngster in your gym and they had an appreciable amount of muscle mass that they built. They didn't sit around here thinking about all the tiny little nuances of the perfect rep. They just went in there and, like, you know, started the lawnmower and just started fucking taking off, you know?
Yeah.
Pull and rip it, you know?
There was some common sense in there.
Common sense, you know?
Common sense lifting. That'll be our new.
Could be argued that there's a lot more guys building good physiques in the gym these days than back then. So it could be argued, again, I'm just playing the other side, that the guys in the gym who had the max recovery and could handle that level of intensity, I call it machismo intensity, because it's more about guys battling each other in the gym. Rah, rah, you know, I hear you roar from across the gym, that type. It's like a room full of tigers. And some people responded to that while others didn't. And I think that the advancement for us in looking more, I call it minutia, because it is. And a lot of people will say the minutia doesn't matter, but some of it does. So I look at it as sifting through the minutia, because there are things in there that have been discarded that we have deemed not important, And I don't think that's the case. And the reason I can say that is I've been around since the old head machismo tiger, tigers in a room thing. And I still find it intriguing that we're still learning so much more about training, where the old heads are real easy to go, well, back in my day, I had 22-inch arms and my cousin's brother's dad, that type of thing. It's like,
Yeah. My counter to that argument is just that bodybuilding as a sport or as a lifestyle has become much more cool than it was back 5, 10, 15,
sure.
certainly 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So the genetic pool of talent of people that are gravitating towards it's 10x or 100x from what it was from the guys that would spend time in the gym back in the day.
It's a good point.
So I'm not sure that people are building better physiques with the information necessarily. I just think you're going to get a lot more better genetic outliers, and we see those more, especially if you're on Instagram or YouTube,
Yep. Man, those are good points.
Hey, Skip, what was that word of the day you had? I heard it earlier.
Are you talking about audacity and temerity?
Yeah. What's that all about?
Audacity. If you have the audacity to do something, you're kind of outside of the box, outside of social norms, taking a risk. But temerity, I actually heard it in a comment that was political. And for those who don't know, when I hear a word, I immediately stop a movie. I'll stop anything. Like I go to Google. I have an album of work because I'm impressed with the people who have a broad vocabulary. I think it's cool. I brought up perhaps and stuff like that. That's not an uncommon word, but it's not used very much. When I hear things like that, I was like, But temerity is more like it's reckless, it's dangerous. And I think he was referring during the comment to comments that had been made by a politician. So instead of having the audacity to say them, he said, and so-and-so has the temerity to say, and I'm like, stop that. We got to see what temerity is. Because I'd never heard that before.
Was it Brandon Gill?
I honestly don't know. Remember,
Congressman from Texas?
It could have been because I'm a big Tallarico fan. So it very well could have been. Yeah. I'm one of those guys without, I don't want to go down the political rabbit hole because that's always dangerous. But I listen to both sides. I laugh at both sides. I laugh at my own side and, the other side they don't, because I agree on both sides with some things. I'm not down one party line, I guess. But I thought I had not heard that word before, so had to make a note of it.
And Andrew and Scott, how do you feel about the unanimous poll on Think Big Facebook page voting that you both plan to compete next year? Did you see that? Somebody posted, they're like, hey, if this post gets 100 likes, then Scott and Andrew have to compete next year. And okay, so I guess we're getting to it, brother. We got to start prepping, man.
I gotta there's just if we could plan it like maybe like a 3-month prep from, we'll say September, October, November, maybe, and if there was a show in December, like maybe.
I'm not getting on any stages anymore. Those days are
yeah, me neither. I'm just saying. Like,
apparently I'm not either, so there's that. We're all in the
it's
same
like
boat.
this ain't happening. So.
Little self-deprecation there goes a long way.
Guys, we appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for being here. Go to bodyberry.com to reach out to Andrew for coaching. Hit up teamskip.com to reach out to Skip. Check these guys out. They got their own channels. They're doing a bunch of really awesome stuff. And hit me up, McNallyDiets@gmail.com. Check out TrueNutrition.com, supplementsource.ca. And thank you to everybody from Patreon. We've got a physique critique on the next show. And for another episode of Blood, Sweat, and Gear, we'll see you soon. Leave us questions for the next one, guys. Yeah, that's everybody. The first 3% crew. That's everybody.
Yeah, but I think if you're one of the first 5% that join, you're probably still hanging there as the last 5% when things wind down,
Oh, I meant like retention of the show. So everybody.
Well, me too.
Everybody sees the first 5 seconds.
No,
no matter how much they dislike us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the old guy's on. I'm out.
I get you.
There's
I'm
that one
trying
guy
to
who
get
doesn't
him to hold on for like 12 to 15 seconds. I don't know what the cutoff is.
Is it like usually like somewhere in the 17 to 23 minute mark where things start to fall off a little bit for most shows? Not just ours, but like I think for most bodybuilding media in general, I feel people have attention spans for 17 to 20. It's
Yeah,
under 30.
It's under
yeah.
30.
Yeah.
We'll get like 28 at times, not on all of them, but we'll get like 28. It's rare that it breaks past any of the 20s though.
Yeah.
And then I think that the
28
length
for the whole show?
No.
For-
like people start watching and they carry through to like the 28th minute. That's where drop off starts to happen.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
yeah, but
I was
and
like, we're doing something wrong.
I think it depends on the length too, because if I do, if you do a 10-minute video, your retention is gonna, and that hurts us too. Then, or it hurts the channel or whatever, that video, because if we all do like all these 1-hour videos, and if I do something that's 10 minutes long, YouTube doesn't care that they watched 80% of it. All they care about is like they only watched half of it. Yeah, and they're like, oh, well, that video only kept people on the platform for 5 minutes, so it wasn't.
Well, then let me ask you this, coming from the angle of knowing, let's say 28 to 30 minutes is like that sweet spot where people start to fall off. Would making 30-minute episodes, because this is something I've been thinking about, is just doing like 3 or 4 30-minute episodes a week versus like 2-hour-long episodes, for instance.
It could. We
Ask
tried. Do
Naya.
you remember we tried that, Skip?
Ask Naya. He goes 3 hours and he's got ridiculous. I don't know what his retention looks like, but his interaction and his views and subscribers. I think it's just your niche. I think it's what people expect from your channel.
You're
He's
right.
clearly very, very long form.
Yeah.
Information, but I don't know. You guys are going where I have fought to not go. And I'm not saying I'm an overthinker. Like I've got the answer. Good luck figuring out YouTube, because as soon as you think you got something, they're changing something. And I'm no success story at this, but our analytics really have turned really, really well over the last few months. And
Nice.
It's really timed with, I'm just gonna put out good content, and if they don't want it, like, I don't want to say fuck 'em, but basically I'm tired of trying to figure out the system when I can't. And we've just stayed consistent, and I think that has helped big time. I'm not saying don't think about it.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying.
But like
I'm
you
just saying
can't base
there's
all
so
your
much.
decisions off of it, right? Is what you're. Yeah.
And that's why I use Naya as an example, because I mean he just goes to get it's long. That's a long show.
Yeah.
And he seems to be doing just fine.
You know what?
You
People
gotta
have
go to bed.
Yeah. People tell me too that they're like, I like the long shows, and they're like, oh, I don't listen to it all at once. I'll do my cardio. A lot of people are doing like half-hour cardio, right? So they break it up.
And I wonder about the analytics with that, because I don't know the answer to this question. If someone watches 20 minutes, but they come back and they watch another 20 minutes, and they come back and watch another 20 minutes, it's not counted obviously as another view. But at the same time, do you get hit for the fact that they don't watch it all the way through? And how does that reflect audience retention percentages? I don't know the answer to that.
I think it does get counted as another view.
I don't know. You could.
Double check.
If people go and come back, did you say? I'm sorry, I was reading the comments. If they,
but I would
that's
think
that's a second view.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So you're getting
then at
more
the end of the
views
day,
on
is
the
that
same
better?
video.
Is that better for audience retention or worse? I mean, does it matter? That's why I look at some of these analytics. I'm
view
like, I don't know if
counts.
it really matters.
Yeah. We tried. Do you remember when we tried doing half-hour shows a long time ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was so like, because we're doing 2 shows, right, Andrew? So we were like really breaking it up, because it's like we had enough time to do like a topic and a couple questions, and that was it. And then it felt like I'm just constantly introducing the show over 2 hours. And good luck keeping Skip to 30 minutes. There's that.
Really? I don't even let anybody talk for 30 minutes.
YouTube has what's called the 30-second rule. Every view that you watch, at least for 30 seconds, whether it's separately or a different time, or at the same time, counts as a view, up to 4 to 5 views per day, depending on your channel activity. So if you're someone that is going to your own channel and clicking on it over and over and over again for 30 seconds just to drive views up, it recognizes that behavior. But otherwise, you I guess you can count it up to 4 to 5 times per day. So if someone watches it today for at least 30 seconds, there's a view. If they go back to the same podcast tomorrow, they watch at least 30 seconds, that's another view.
All right. Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's
I'll
the
tell you
way I
this.
thought it worked.
That algorithm is so smart. I'm pretty sure it knows if I took a shower or not. It's creepy. Seriously. It just knows a lot of shit. I mean, obviously I'm being
Yeah,
It wouldn't possibly know that. Or could Alexa know that? They're telling
They
Alexa's telling
might.
YouTube.
Oh, before we got started, Skip, I wanted to ask you, do you have a spare tire in your car?
No, you do. I'll bet.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe
So what
that'd
do
be
you
like.
do?
You call BMW roadside assistance, I guess.
And the guy
Yeah,
shows
call a
up
tow
looking
truck.
at you all like, so you need a man to show up? Like,
Well,
Right.
I always get this one too. Well, why didn't you just, you could plug that tire, or you could fix a flat. It's a high performance tire. They aren't run flats.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
don't make run flats for high performance. It's an M. It's an M performance. No, you can't do that. You got to call a tow truck, and then you got to call a tow truck that won't just drag your shit up because it's low profile. And, rip the underneath of your.
You got to get a
front of your
flatbed.
car up, or your exhaust.
You
That
got to
was
get
an
a
issue.
a lot of
flatbed,
those
right?
guys, they won't do it anymore if they see your car is lowered because, like we when I used to be the president of a condo association, the tow guy wouldn't tow this Corvette that was illegally parking in front of this old lady's garage every day. He's like, dude, I don't want any of that beef. Like the dude can sue me for like damaging his vehicle. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Dang.
I had a problem
I
with
was
my
surprised.
exhaust. I have a Dynon exhaust, and they.
Oh, you do?
When they went to pull it up, I drove it after I left the shop. I told you about the car. I had a flat going through the car wash.
Okay.
So I had to challenge the car because they told me it would fit through because I went in there for a hand wash and they're like, no, we don't have hand washes, but it'll go through. I'm like, no, it'll go through really. Then I even asked the lady when I got there because I was a little anxious, and it went through, and then they didn't get all the bugs off, so I went through again. Next morning, PSI was 0.4 on the rear tire on the driver's side that goes through the rails. Anyway, I challenged them, and they actually paid for it and paid for my oil change too because I got an oil change at the same time. But you got to be careful with like you're saying with the tow, but they have those flatbeds that you know what I mean, like different grades for flatbeds and stuff. But what I did was I drove away, and I'm like, my exhaust sounds like a really bad Mustang job, and that's not a shot at Mustang, but they're very, very loud, and a lot of guys that get Mustangs don't.
I didn't know
get
you had a
good
Dynon exhaust. Did you put that on aftermarket?
No,
Okay.
of course I did.
I don't know how it works. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Dynon, and it's tuned and
valved?
Atlas and all that sort of stuff. It's fucking, excuse my language, but it's,
I bet, dude. I'm just getting into this world, but I also heard you're not supposed to wash your car in those automated car washes.
No, you're
It's
not.
Terrible.
You're not.
But the lady convinced him. The lady kept on telling him, always fine. We don't have a hand wash, but you can get it
The
through.
kid was like 16 years old, and his buddy's right there. He's just his buddy, probably. He's like, oh, yeah, you're good. We get cars here all the time. So I was like, oh, okay. Like, they're an authority on this, right? And I even asked the lady. I get up, she's spraying with one arm. She has one arm. Like, I thought maybe it was in a cast or something. She has one arm. Not that you can't spray a car with one arm, but you can't scrub it. So I'm like, I'm going to have bugs all over because I got the one-arm lady doing this. But anyway, I called her
So that's
over.
why you had to go back through twice to get the other.
Exactly. But I called her over because I'm going to ask her. And here's her response. I'm calling her over. She's trying to pull me up, and I'm doing this. She thinks I'm mocking her. So as soon as I'm like, no, come here. She's like, and this is dramatic. She didn't do it this way, but it was like, like this was the most stressful thing in her job for her job that day. She comes over, and I asked her the same thing. I'm like, I'm not sure I'm going to fit. She's like, oh, yeah, you're good. You're fine. No. It ripped the shit out of it. Just literally gouged it. Gouged it. 0.4 PSI the next day. It was Mother's Day. We were going to dinner. Like, we aren't going anywhere. We're taking an Uber.
Dang.
Anyway, they paid for everything. They paid for the oil. The oil change was on the bill. I'm like, I don't expect you to pick up the oil change. I didn't think they'd pick up anything.
Yeah.
Sent me a check for $1,400. I'm like, thank you very much. Now it was a pain
So
in the ass.
was the exhaust messed up or what?
Yeah, it was. It was all screwed up. So I took it back in. I'm like, look, something isn't right. I know my car. I've had it for 8 years.
Yeah.
Something's not right. And I put my foot on it and I moved it. And it was moving. Like the other one was, so he's like, so I thought it had done something to the bracket while I went through the car wash, but it hadn't been like that prior to picking it up. So anyway, they're like, no, we'll fix this right away. So it was a bracket issue or something. It had come undone, but it sounded like a Mustang with a bad exhaust. Like it was super loud.
Is it a valved exhaust that you have, like a Valvetronic exhaust where you can hit the button and stuff?
No, I don't hit any buttons, but it's input output. So it's not like it's relatively unassuming. You can hear it. It's low, but when I get on it, you can hear it. But when it controls the back and.
So mine does that too. but it's still too quiet for me with the way the
okay.
factory setup is.
I get compliments on it all the time.
Do you? I don't want something that's going to be like so loud it has that like a loud drone.
That's how
constantly.
I am too. I don't want it loud like that.
I test drove this
loud.
S3 that was like this guy had aftermarket tuned it and had the exhaust, and we're just like doing 35, and it's like the whole time. I'm like, fuck that, dude.
Yeah.
Could you imagine like just trying to take a 2-hour drive?
Because you don't want that sound in the car either. So
Yeah.
with an M3 and an M5, M4, you're not going to get that. They're sealed up pretty damn tight, so you don't have to. Because sometimes you'll be in a car and you can't have a conversation. You're like, I've turned down the radio sometimes. I'm that old. Like, I'm going to have a conversation. Like, I'm pulling into a parking spot. I'm going to turn the radio down. I don't want to hear my car that loud. Give me a break.
Yeah. All right, I'll bring us in.
All
Thanks
right.
everybody for being here. We appreciate having you guys here. You're freaking awesome.